At 2:47 p.m. local time, a Ukrainian MiG-29 sliced through Russian airspace, just 90 seconds in, clutching 2 French bombs aimed at a border guard post Moscow believed was untouchable. In 12 minutes, this pilot would either cripple a key supply line fueling Russian forces in Ukraine or limp back to base, leaving ground troops under fire from ammo still flowing through that post. But in 6 seconds, it all went sideways. Flying at treetop level to dodge Russian radar, the pilot battled jammed GPS, a fuel gauge kissing empty, and a paper map taped to his knee for navigation. If everything went flawless, he'd get one shot at the target. Then, disaster, a crow smashed into the left engine intake at 180 km per hour. The compressor blades, spinning at 13,000 RPM, shredded instantly, the engine screaming with a grinding stall. The MiG lurched left, plunging toward the forest below. Instinct took over, right rudder to balance the thrust, left hand yanking the stick to stop the dive, right hand slamming the restart switch. The jet dropped from 200 m to 180, then 160, trees so close he could count their branches. Restart needed 30 seconds, he had maybe 10 before crashing. At that exact moment, a Russian Podlet K-1 radar at Klamovo, built to spot low-flying threats like aircraft or drones down to 100 m, had been tracking flickers for 2 minutes, small blips popping over ridges, vanishing into valleys. The operator reached for his radio just as the signal disappeared behind a hill, right after a 6-second lock. 2 more seconds, and he'd have had a firing solution. Instead, he hesitated, reported and drowned in paperwork, or let the next shift handle what might just be cranes. He picked coffee. Meanwhile, the MiG's left engine sputtered back at 140 m. The pilot felt the lurch of asymmetric thrust vanish as the turbine synced, but the engine was rough, compressor efficiency at 30%. Worse, the near crash burned precious time and fuel, 12 minutes of reserve now down to 3. Then, power lines loomed ahead, unmarked on his tactical map, a 60 m wall of cables across the valley. At 650 km per hour, he had 2 seconds. He pulled 5 GS, vision blurring, clearing the top wire by less than 10 m. The electromagnetic field made his instruments go haywire. Behind him, the Podlet K-1 operator strolled to the break room, leaving his replacement to puzzle over a weird radar blip logged 6 minutes prior. The MiG pushed on, one engine limping, fuel critical, pilot's hands trembling from the close call. The navigation checkpoint, a sharp bend in the Desna River, appeared exactly where the map promised, 10 kilometers from the release point. With 1 shot and barely enough fuel, the pilot prepped for what strategists call a suicide run, a vertical climb through 8,000 feet of hostile skies. At 14:41, he hit the attack run's initial point, 50 kilometers from the target, skimming 200 m, invisible to distant radars. In 45 seconds, that would change. He slammed the throttles and pulled the stick. 6 GS crushed him into his seat, his suit squeezing his legs and abdomen. It wasn't enough. At 3,000 m, his vision grayed. At 5,000 m, it tunneled. At 6,500 m, he nearly blacked out, muscle memory alone gripping the stick. The MiG's nose pointed skyward, engines roaring, the damaged left one shaking violently, threatening to tear apart. He couldn't ease off, he needed every meter of altitude. His radar warning receiver lit up, new threats pinging every second. He just screamed his presence to every air defense system within 200 kilometers. Then the weapons system crashed. The French ASM bombs, wired to the Soviet-era MiG via a makeshift Ukrainian interface, failed at 6 GS and 7,000 m. The control panel flashed connection error in French. The bombs, clueless, wouldn't release in 20 seconds as planned. His oxygen-starved brain wrestled with the backup procedure, left hand steady on the climb, right hand flipping switches for manual override, backup power, master arm reset. Nothing. The bombs stayed silent. That's when in Su-35, 72 kilometers away, locked on. The Russian jet, already vectoring toward the anomaly, fired an R-37M hypersonic missile, Mach 6, set to close the gap in 36 seconds. The MiG's warning screamed, missile launch, bearing 045, 2 kilometers per second. He couldn't dodge yet, the bomb still needed to drop. His right hand hit the emergency pickle buttons, bypassing the digital system. At 8,000 m, release point, he slammed the first button. Nothing. He held it, 1, 2, 3 seconds. The bomb dropped, its rocket motor igniting after a gut-wrenching delay. The second bomb released faster, the manual system waking up. Both AASMs fell, pitching upward as their rockets fired. Now he could evade. The pilot rolled inverted, pulling a 9G split S dive, vision blacking out for 2 seconds. He came to at 4,000 m, the R-37M still tracking. Chaff dispensers fired 3 bundles and jammed. The ECM pod, fried from the climb, shut down. The missile closed to 10 kilometers. His last card, a notch maneuver, turning perpendicular to the missile's path, zeroing relative motion. The missile's seeker, blind to stationary targets, lost lock, passing 100 m behind, its self-destruct fragments peppering the MiG's rudder. The pilot didn't flinch, diving for the treeline to hide. Behind him, the 2 French bombs climbed to 8,500 m, their motors spent, now falling toward Belaberyaska's border post. For minutes of flight, guided by satellites they couldn't reach, infrared seekers blind until the final moments. Everything had to be perfect, but war rarely is. The first bomb's rocket motor, followed by water vapor in the Ukrainian fuel truck, gave 60% thrust for 20% less time. Its processor calculated a 2 kilometer shortfall. Then Russia's Krasuka 4 electronic warfare system kicked in near Bryansk, blasting 1,000 watts of noise, drowning the GPS signal. Both bombs lost satellite guidance, falling back on inertial navigation, mechanical gyroscopes racking up 2 m of error per second. By Belaberyaska, they'd be 480 m off. Normal bombs would fail, but these switched to infrared for terminal guidance. Problem, the sun. At 1449, it sat in the second bomb's infrared path, saturating its seeker at 3,000 m. For 15 seconds, it flew blind, for kilometers with no guidance, errors piling up. The first bomb hit wind shear at 5,000 m, an 80-knot jet stream yanking it 20 degrees off course. Its gyroscopes tumbled, the bomb spinning at 2 revolutions per minute, fins fighting to stabilize. Then an S-400 battery at Klamovo spotted them, 2 small contacts, 0.2 m radar cross-section, too fast for choppers, wrong for missiles. Orders were clear, engage. 2 48N6 missiles launched, but their computers couldn't solve for ballistic freefall. They missed, streaking into empty sky. At 2,000 m, the first bomb's spin carried it east, clear of the sun. Its infrared locked onto 3 BTR-82A vehicles, engines glowing hot. The second bomb, dodging solar glare, locked onto the building's geometric roof pattern, a backup mode from Mali operations. Both bombs, now at 2 kilometers altitude, had solid locks. But Russia's Panzer S-1, guarding the post, was built to kill precision munitions. Its radar tracked bullets, its missiles downed shells. Yet the bomb's near-vertical 87 degrees dive baffled it. At 8 seconds to impact, the Panzer locked on, but its computer flagged the targets as outside the engagement zone. The 57 × 10 to the power of 6 missiles needed 1.5 seconds to arm, but the bombs would hit in 2.9. For missiles launched anyway, passing the bombs at 400 m, self-destructing uselessly. The operators switched to guns, twin Tua 38 m cannons, 2,500 rounds per minute, 30 mm tungsten shells. They hit their 85 degrees elevation limit, just shy of the bomb's 87 degrees path. Thousands of rounds missed by inches. The first bomb, its gyroscopes skewed, hit 12 m off at 1451, punching through the roof at 312 meters per second. Its 50 kilogram shaped charge detonated, a superheated copper jet slicing diagonally, toppling the building sideways like a felled tree. 17 seconds later, the second bomb, spiraling from a damaged fin, hit 8 m off, rupturing fuel tanks and 3 BTR-82s. The 500 L of diesel aerosolized, ignited by the 227 kilograms explosive, creating a 4,000 degrees Celsius fuel-air blast for 1.3 seconds. The vehicles melted. The MiG, now on one good engine, tanks nearly dry, pilot half-conscious from G-forces, crossed back into Ukrainian lines. Behind him, the border post burned. The mission was messy, brutal, barely successful. But in war, success is all that matters. Catch you later.